Okay. Good morning, everyone. A couple weeks ago, Dave Clark contacted me and he indicated that Patrick Ward, who was about to give today's SAG Talk, was unable to present. And I said, "Oh, that's too bad. We haven't had a SAG Talk in a while." And he said, "What should we do?" And I said, "Well, maybe we could have a World Cup discussion. That would be timely." And Dave said, "Okay, you're in charge." So I think this is a reminder to me, that old kind of slogan, be careful what you ask for, you might get it. So this is what I plan to do today. I want to chat for 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, just on some of my thoughts about the World Cup. This isn't the least bit academic. I imagine this is a bunch of friends sitting around the TV watching a game, and you're very permitted, as I will be, to say outrageous things. And we'll just see how it goes. Maybe it'll be very short. Let's see. So I'd like to share my screen because I have one thing I want to put up. All right. Can people see my screen?
Oh,
no, not yet. Now it's coming. There we go.
There it is. So this is what I plan on talking about today. I want to talk about four teams, my kind of insights on how well they'll do. So first, let's talk about Canada, because I've been following Canada for a very long time. In 1986, in June, I was a PhD student about to defend my thesis. I was sitting in my dorm room at Trinity College at the University of Toronto, and Canada had made it to the World Cup. And I was very busy. I was planning for our wedding, planning for the trip out west, planning for the defense. All these things were on my plate. And so I said to myself, well, I'll watch Canada in the next World Cup. It's been 36 years, and Canada has not been in another World Cup. That was their one and only World Cup. And if you look back, you'll see they did badly. I think they lost all three games, 2-0, 2-0, and 1-0. I looked that up. They lost to the Soviet Union 2-0, Hungary 2-0, and then France 1-0. So I think they'll do much better this time around. It's possible they may not win a game. That's soccer, but I'm excited for them. And I'll tell you why I'm excited. They did so well in the CONCACAF qualifying, but I think they have a very favorable draw. And I'll tell you why I think that. Because the two main competitors in that group, Belgium and Croatia, I consider them to both be aging teams. Belgium, they've spoken about Belgium over the last decade as having, or a little bit less than that, as having their golden generation. But I think a lot of these guys are old. And what Canada has is we have electric pace up front. Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, and Tayshaun Buchanan. These guys, they're fast, they're strong, they're athletic. When I saw them in the CONCACAF games, there would be three guys on Davies. Like there's just no answer for him. He's so fast, he's so good. I think they could cause problems, and they could upset or at least get a result against either Croatia or Belgium. And Croatia too, if you look at it's a little bit deceiving. I looked on one website and it said Belgium was the second oldest team in the World Cup. But these kind of statistics don't really tell the whole story. If your keeper is old, it doesn't really matter. If the guy sitting on the bench is old, that doesn't really matter. It's the kind of the age of your starting players. So I consider Belgium to be an old team, and also Croatia. You remember they made it to the very finals in the last World Cup, and guys like Luka Modric, still a great player, but he's old. He's some. I wrote down his age. Modric is he's 37. He's really old. And
How old are you, Tim?
yeah, well, that's a little bit older yet. And there's who else is old? Ivan Perisic is a key player, and he's old. Dejan Lovren, he's old. So I think Canada's athleticism and strength and quickness, it gives them an opportunity. As for Morocco, Morocco could beat Canada, but I think that's the team Canada has to beat to give them a chance. So that's my first comment here. Canada, I think they have the opportunity to surprise. I'm sure they will score a goal. They won't be as bad as in '86, and I think they'll make us proud. There's a real seems to be a joy on that team, and they play for one another, and their defenders seem to me to be smart and trustworthy, and also the key player who I haven't mentioned is this Eustáquio, the guy who plays off in Portugal. He's the midfielder who sets the table for everybody. I think he's instrumental, and if they tie him up, that's going to be a problem. But if he has some space to play, I think Canada has a good chance of representing us well. All right. Before I go on to USA, anybody want to chip in on Canada? No?
How's our goalkeeping?
Yeah, so we have this Crépeau, who was our second keeper, and he plays for LAFC. So he got injured, so he won't be there. But you know what? The main guy, Boyan, I can't even pronounce his name. He's the number one keeper. He's good. He plays in Europe, and as long as he doesn't get hurt during the World Cup, I think we're okay. Yeah. Yeah, I like him. I like him very much. Okay, next team, the USA. So I've watched, I watched all those CONCACAF games, and I was able to watch USA a lot too. So I have some opinions about them. I think they're going to disappoint. I mean, America will always be watching them, and they'll get a lot of attention. But for me, they only have like one real world-class player on their team, and that's Christian Pulisic, who plays for Chelsea, but he doesn't even get a lot of minutes for Chelsea. So I think they're very young and inexperienced, and that's also the flip side. Being young, you maybe play without fear, but experience helps. And so I don't believe in the USA. When I watched them in the Gold Cup, they won that, and they won their games 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. What they seem to have, to me, is they seem to have tremendous fitness. They were playing like crap for most of the games, and then in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, their fitness took over. But fitness is fleeting, and they got a lot of players that play in the MLS, and they haven't played for a while, so I don't expect their fitness to carry them through. These players might not have the technique that a lot of the European clubs have. They're not experienced. I just don't expect much out of the US. But time will tell. My next bullet point is France. So France, down here, I have listed all the groups and the teams with their betting odds according to Bet365. So you can see that France is very highly favored to do well in the World Cup. I think they're third behind Brazil, had the lowest odds, and then Argentina had second lowest odds. And I've even seen in some sports books, France is ranked number 2. So they won the last World Cup, and they're good. But what I really want to talk about is a guy that you've heard of, N'Golo Kanté. He's a world-class player. Everybody knows that. But even still, I would say he's underappreciated. He was with Leicester when they won the World Cup in 15-16, that tremendous surprise. He was with France in the following year when they made it to the Euro finals. He was with France when they won the World Cup. He was with Chelsea when they won the Champions League and Europa League. And now N'Golo Kante is injured. And so you've seen what happened to Chelsea in the Premier League. They've been, they started off the season okay. Now they've been just going down the toilet. They're in 8th place in the Premier League. I think he's so good, that guy. Losing him is going to make a difference. And then they lost another guy. You know of Paul Pogba on Manchester United. I don't particularly think he's that good. He hasn't helped United too much. However, he was very good with France in their last World Cup. He was really good, and he was a top player when he was at Juventus. So comparing France 2018 to France 2022, I think they're not anywhere as good a team as they were because they've lost those two guys. And also Benzema's got muscle problems, and he's a key player. So I think France has a fairly easy path, a fairly easy group, and but they're not going to win. I don't think they're as good as people think, and I think they could do much worse than people expect. Yeah, okay. Anybody? USA, France?
Isn't Mbappe gonna save them like
Oh,
single-handedly?
Yeah, hi Oliver. Yeah,
Hey.
but he's, if I'm playing a game where I'm a coach and I get the choice of any player in the world to be on my team, if I get first pick, I might pick Mbappe. I like Mbappe. I like Kevin De Bruyne, which is a worry because he's on Belgium and he's playing Canada. And I also have Alphonso in that list. I just think Alphonso Davies is so fabulous. So yeah, Oliver, yeah, Mbappe might save them. That's true. But this is soccer, right? The best teams don't always win, and the worst teams sometimes win. It's unpredictable. But I'm just saying, I don't think France is as good as they were, and I think people in general think they're better than they really are. I guess that's my take. But Mbappe is great. He's just great. Okay. Yeah. Last bullet point. Spain. So Spain also had a golden generation. All those guys like Iniesta, Xavi, they're all gone. All those fabulous guys that won Euros and World Cups. There's only 2 guys left. There's, I think, Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, and they're really getting on. So Spain has struggled, but I think they're coming back, and they're doing well. They're having nice results. And the thing about Spain that's really key is I think they've got 7 or 8 guys from Barcelona playing on Spain. And so Barcelona is playing well now with these young guys, and they know each other, right? This is the problem with the national teams. They don't play together all that much, but Spain has this core of guys from Barcelona, and I think they got 3 guys from Atletico Madrid. So I think they got this synergy, and I think Spain could surprise in a positive way. Oliver, you're not going to like this. They're in the same group as Germany. I pick Spain to top that group. Okay, so
Tim, I'm okay with it because my wife is from Spain, so
right.
No matter
Right.
who wins, I got someone to root for.
Yeah, you're in good shape. Yeah, you can see I've got this Canada hat on. My student Naroda gave this to me the other day, so I'm all set up for the World Cup, and Pulindo gave me a jersey. So yeah, I'm going to be enjoying the World Cup. Okay, so please, somebody say something. This is a bunch of friends sitting around the TV and having a chat and saying outrageous things. So somebody please step up.
Oh, are you done? I want to get back to Canada. Maybe you spoke to this. You can say quite a bit, but they had a long phase where Alphonso Davies was injured.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. I think the
Yeah.
positive spin is, wow, they were so good even without him, right? So with him, they must be really good. But sometimes soccer is not that linear, right? So he's sort of,
That's a really good comment. And I've heard that he hasn't even arrived in Qatar yet, right? They're treating him at Bayern. And so like whatever's going on, like they need him. They can't do well without him. He's that important. And but he's getting treatment. He's expected to play. There's a little bit of mystery surrounding Alfonso. And I'm concerned about that. Who else is on this Zoom today? I can maybe ask some names. Who are the people? I'm looking at the list here.
Do you see the participants, Tim?
No, you know what? I
you
can't.
You see at the bottom, there's a participants button.
Where is it? Oliver? All I can see is my screen share at the moment.
Oh,
You probably have a full screen.
Yeah, or maybe just stop sharing for a bit.
Stop sharing. Yeah, well, okay. Maybe that's
okay. This is Jim Little from UBC. I'd like to talk about stats and tracking and all the other rest, all the kind of information that I don't know if you watched the baseball. Baseball is so full of stats, it's crazy. But I saw even more of it this particular World Series than I'd ever seen before. I was amazed. Anybody have any sense of who's going to do the stats? What's coming?
One of the things they say that kind of at the top of the heap in terms of sports analytics is baseball. They've done the most.
Yeah.
And I think a reason for that is it's easier, right? Like there's a pitch and there's only so many things that can happen, and you can quantify those things. It's not, and the ball gets hit to one player and then maybe he throws it to first base. So it's a much simpler game. Soccer, hockey, basketball, these are continuous games, and the analytics are much more difficult. And to do anything really good, I think you have to rely on tracking data. And as you know, the tracking data isn't it's not out there for everybody to use. You have to be really lucky person who has some tracking data. But that's where the innovations are coming. I'll share with you some stuff that's going to be submitted in a few days. So Naroda, my PhD student, and I are working on throw-ins, and it's a causal analysis of throw-ins. And what we've seen so far, and this is a little bit surprising, that the backward throw-in is more beneficial than the forward throw-in. And another thing that we've observed is that the long throw-in has a competitive advantage. And that's kind of interesting because we never saw long throw-ins, like a throw-in of 30 yards into the box. We never saw that 10 years ago. And now we're seeing a lot of it. So the teams it seems they've decided that this is a good thing, but there's no papers on that except for our paper, which hopefully will be out there very soon. So and then Lucas, my student who just defended the other day, he did something really interesting. He did off the ball evaluation. So in Johan Cruyff, who was a key both player and manager at both Barcelona and Ajax, he said once that you only have the ball at your feet for less than 3 minutes a game. And if you think of if you think of all the statistics we have in soccer, they're all on the ball statistics. We have tackles, we have shots, we have passes, goals. So the question is, what are you doing during the other 87 minutes? So Lucas's work, which relies on tracking data, investigates a very narrow aspect of off the ball activity. He's looking at defensive aggression. So he can run this program over all players in a league and see who's got this defensive anticipation. So I think that's a real opportunity for future work, measuring off the ball performance. And it's way more difficult doing it offensively than defensively, because there's more options for runs that you can make and things that you can do on offense than on defense. So that's my comment on that. Thanks, Jim.
Well, I think you made an interesting point about the long throw-ins. Is that a matter of skill? Is that something that people weren't able to do or wouldn't train to do?
Yeah, well, when you watch teams, they usually have a designated guy who's the long throw-in guy, because if you try it yourself, like I've tried it, I can only do it like so far, right?
Yeah.
Like, but there are some guys who have a certain technique. They take a run up, and then they got to make sure their both feet are down, and they must have really good flexibility, because they put it way behind their back and fling it out. So yeah, there's designated players on a team who can do that. And yeah, I'm not sure if they couldn't do it before in the old days, but they're trying now.
Yeah, it's certainly surprising when you don't expect it.
Yeah. Oh, I've got the list now of everybody who's here. Let's see. Who are the soccer people? Okay. Tom, I talked about your country, the USA. Do you got anything to say?
Are you aware of the fact that Greg Berhalter is by percentage the winningest, or at least most successful coach that the US has ever had? He has gotten results in a larger fraction of his games than any other coach in US men's history.
No, I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
So that's the X factor.
That's the wild card, huh?
You got to clutch at something, right?
Yeah.
Let's go for the coach, because you just dissed all the players. You just said, oh, they got nobody but this guy who's sort of a semi-bench scrub on a team that's plummeting. So you know, what else is there to play with? Well, they got the coach, and he pulls them. He is the glue, Tim. He is the glue.
Yeah.
So there's the next question: is what difference does a manager make?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think Herdman has changed Canada, the culture, and I think managers are important. I think it's especially important in the National Football League. You know, every week I watch teams make bad decisions, and you know, New England Patriots, I think they're not that good, but they play smart. They play really, really smart. And Bill Belichick is and you know, they're in a playoff position. I think he's like the best coach by a long shot. And did you see the game last night? I like Vrabel on Tennessee. He's sort of a disciple of Belichick, and I like the way he coaches too. You know, coaching is important, I think, in some sports. Yeah.
Well, it depends on who you ask, I think, because you know, the Indianapolis Colts play on Sunday, but their coach is named Saturday, and now all of a sudden he's the center of attention.
Right. Yeah.
If you get that bad pun.
Yeah. Got it. Hey, I see that Laura is here. Laura, were you one of the students in the Friday session of CASAS, the training session? Are you there, Laura?
Sure was.
Yeah. Well, nice of you to join up.
Yeah.
And where are you? Where are you from? What university? I've forgotten.
Dickey University in Melbourne.
Okay. Yes. Now, okay. I remember you now.
Fully finished now. So, yeah, graduation is only what's left.
I don't know if everybody knows this, but we had this CASAS meeting in September on the 24th. And then on the 23rd, the day before, we had this special training session for students, and they came from all over North America. We had 20 of them, and we had just a lovely day. And we did work in sports analytics and had talks. Tom gave a talk. You know, there was networking. It was really, really nice. And some of the students who are here, like Robin and who else is here? Brendan, they helped out. It was a very nice day. But more on soccer. Anybody got any outrageous predictions? Does anybody think a team from Africa will do well this year? They never have done well. I think the closest Africa's ever got was maybe the semifinals once. Anybody believe in any of these African teams? Senegal has lost Sadio Mane now, so that's bad news for them.
I guess I'll speak up to that. So I'm a Nigerian. By the way, hi, I'm David.
I
And,
do.
I know nothing about soccer except that I have a Nigerian soccer jersey because they're sick. And so if I were to make a bracket based on these odds and what you've said about African countries not doing as well, where do I balance, I guess, the trade-off of heart versus expectation?
Yeah. So Nigeria isn't here this year, and that's unusual because they're usually a World Cup club. I don't know what happened to them. Yeah. That's always the issue, isn't it? I mean, the England. What do they say in England? They say it's coming home. They're always dreaming for the cup coming home. Yeah, and they're always overrated, I think, because well, there's so much support for them that they're overrated. Does anybody have? I have an opinion on South America. I think Brazil and Argentina are way better than everybody else, but way better. You think this is Messi's last crack at a World Cup? Do you think he can do it? He can. I would like to see Argentina do well. Come on, Brendan, say something.
Tim, I don't know if you know this, but I know nothing about soccer.
Okay.
Yeah, now that Canada's in it, I'll probably watch, but
Yeah.
yeah, other than that, it's basically just hockey for me and a bit of football, basketball, baseball, tennis here and there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're disadvantaged because you're kind of an Ontario kid, as am I. And when I was a kid in Ontario, soccer was a summer sport. So you either played soccer or you played baseball. And I played baseball my whole life. I even played on the City of Kitchener. So I didn't start soccer. I didn't get involved in the beautiful game until about when I went to England in 2009, and that's when I started watching all the time. And then I was coaching my daughters, and yeah. So but the culture is changing in Canada. I think soccer is the game. Like my daughters told me when they were in elementary school, I said, "How many boys in your class play hockey?" And they said like 3. And when I was a kid, every single boy played hockey at some stage in school. And now every single kid, boys and girls, it seems, give soccer a crack in at least in the Lower Mainland. It's becoming the sport. But we still have the winter, and we still suffer from relatively small population. So I think the women's team, they're going to they've had great success, but I think it's a numbers game. As women get more rights and opportunities to play soccer in countries like, say, Brazil, it's going to be tougher and tougher for Canada to replicate what they've done. And also Christine Sinclair was a generational player, and she's at the end of her career, so they miss her badly. They can't score any goals anymore. Yeah. I wish my buddy Mahmoud was here because he's from Iran, and I wanted to ask him what he thought because he watches all the Iran games. Anybody have any insights on Iran? They're in this group, interestingly, with for political reasons, with the USA and England, and all sorts of stuff's going on these days, as you know. But I think they're a pretty good side. Surprises me their odds are so long. I think they're better than we think, or than people think.
I'll ask a question instead of answering that, because I don't I couldn't name a player on Iran, so I clearly can't tell you anything. But going back to David's question about African teams, I wonder how much it matters having sort of a home country, or at least a home regional league available. There are so many leagues in Europe and so many teams in Europe. The causal inference people would wonder which comes first, having the leagues or having all of the national teams. US and Canada now have a league.
Yeah.
It's not a top league, but it's a league. Mostly players in MLS play either at the very end of their glorious careers or at the very start of their careers and move on somewhere else. And it seems like all of Africa's players end up playing all over the country, all over the world. And when they're good enough, they play at the top teams just as everybody else does. Do you think that there's that having even some sort of I don't know, any kind of a league in Africa might be something that would improve their chances?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of a way for grassroots development. I mean, in Japan, most of the Japanese players, there aren't too many that go to Europe. They play in Japan, and their leagues have rules about how many foreigners you can have in. So it's really a Japanese league. I was in South Africa, and they have a domestic league. Yeah, but some of these other countries, I don't know what's going on there in terms of domestic leagues. And since South Africa didn't make it to the World Cup, so yeah, is it important? I think it's helpful, right? I mean, and if you're really, really good, you go off then to Europe, and all the great South American players are playing in Europe. Yeah, but having a base for them to develop, I think it's a good thing. And these teams they all have the big teams, and even now in Vancouver, the Whitecaps have an academy for promising kids. So they go to school, and then they do soccer. They do school, I think, at the academy, and then they do soccer in the afternoon. And that Alfonso Davies was in the academy, so it's a way of developing talent. I think having this kind of broad base that is accessible and brings people up. Yeah, I think so.
It's probably going to be a long time. I mean, the great countries, Argentina and Brazil in South America, but it's going to be a long time before anywhere else can have the same sort of concentration of leagues that Europe's got.
Yeah, and it's a money thing, right? The players follow the money, and yeah, you're right, I think. All right, anybody else? Well, we'll probably shut this off fairly soon. Anybody else have any comments? Oliver, you're a soccer guy. Don't got any more to say? Or you...
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Messi has been a mystery, right? That's also an example of you know what we're saying with Mbappe, it's not having one fantastic star isn't necessarily enough, right? Because the other team can kind of focus on that guy and neutralize him. With Canada, I don't know. I'm curious what you think of Jonathan David or David. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not quite as high as Davies, but he's doing very well at Leo. Let's see.
Yeah, I think he's a good player. Let me tell you something outrageous that I did the other day. So you remember in our SAG meetings a few years ago, we got to meet with Jonathan Herdman, John Herdman, the coach of the Canadian team.
Yeah.
And so I took a flyer last weekend. I sent him an email message and I gave him some advice because I had been watching Brentford play Man City, and Brentford won that game and they neutralized De Bruyne, and they got Canada has De Bruyne in the first game against Belgium. And I think De Bruyne is fabulous. So I told him that it would be, you know, maybe one of his assistants could watch that film and see how they did it. But they, you know, actually I kind of saw what they did. De Bruyne kind of lurks, right? He kind of finds open spaces a little bit behind the forwards, and Brentford didn't let him have any open space. Even, you know, he didn't have the ball and he was in no threatening position, but they had a guy right there. So yeah, that's what I told Herdman. Yeah.
I can't wait to hear the post-game interviews with him to see what he says.
Yeah, he'll say, well, we won this game because that guy at Simon Fraser
Yeah.
told us what to do.
You know, I was a little confused for strategies, but Professor Swartz really straightened us out.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, why don't we shut it down? Thanks everybody for showing up and listening to my banter. Okay, have a good day.
Thanks,
Well, thank you
thanks a
to
lot,
everyone
Tim,
for hosting.
for putting this together and for entertaining and rambling on for us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was good. Thank you.
Okay.
Enjoy the World Cup, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Tom, you gonna stop the
Bye.
recording?
Yeah, I'll quit the meeting now and it'll shut it down.
All right.
And see you.
Bye-bye.